Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to another episode. We have a very special announcement. We have a very special guest. You guys will never believe who we got to be on the show today. This is something that I don't think has ever happened in the history of professional wrestling podcasting. Ladies and gentlemen, drum roll, trash can. He's not here, but he's going to put a drum roll in later. It's Matt Willis. I can't believe it. I can't believe we got you. I can't believe we were able to book you of all people.
Well, thank you, Ryan. You don't have, I don't know if I should actually lower myself to come back on this show after the diatribe that you and Mags gave me on episode 75.
Well, let's be honest. Mags brings out the worst in people. He makes
us... as proved on the Matt Attack this week.
He brings out the worst while also bringing out the best. I was bringing this up. I was looking at the actual audio of the first episode that Mags and I did together, and the wave is a thing of art. Like, we talked the exact amount of time as each other. It was the perfect back and forth. I was actually really proud of that because usually I'm used to Mr. High Voltage Scott Perkins, who is on vacation. He has used his PTO, so he will not be joining us this week or next week, as he is with his family, but he let us know ahead of time. A lot of the times with that, it's, I ramble for a while, and he goes, yeah, you're fucking stupid, and I go, I know, right? Shit.
You are, that's a given.
Yeah, it's the Yank in me, we're New England, so we're still learning. We're still young. We have a lot to just figure out. Yeah, I think I'll get this out of the way too. I am tired. I am currently running the studio by myself. I am exhausted because I went to Corn last night. It was awesome, by the way, as usual. I also don't have my contacts in, so I can't see anything. So I'm not actually monitoring anything. So I'm just really hoping that everything's recording properly. And that's the show. That's the show in a nutshell, really, is just, I don't know what's happening. Let's do it and let's have fun. So, now Matt, you are currently at work though, correct?
I am.
You are. No, now, I'm sure your listeners know, but tell our listeners, who are probably the same people who listen to your show, what do you do for a living?
I'm a chef.
And I like food, and I think that's why we get along.
Yes, although I need to address that you said that it's not a very hard job I have. During the week, it's absolutely manic. But weekend, because I work in a hospital, I'm a hospital chef. The weekdays are manic. The weekends are not, because there is no restaurant open on a weekend. Because they won't pay us to open the weekend. So weekends, it's just the patient, so I have time on my lunch break to talk to you.
That's pretty great. See, I didn't know that. Like, around here, so the biggest, I'll say, I won't say the biggest, I'll say the fanciest hospital in the area. I don't know if they have a cafeteria, but it's for, patients, it's for staff, it's for, oh God, ladies and gentlemen. Hold on. I hear movement. I don't know if Trash Can has arisen from his slumber or not. It's hard to tell. Anyways, we have, like, they have a cafeteria, and it's for patients, and it's for like staff. And holy shit, Trash Can's here, ladies and gentlemen. Trash Can has awakened from his slumber, and he didn't even go to Corn and get stuck in traffic for 2 hours. I'm so tired right now. Trash Can, if you just make sure everything's actually recording over there. I don't know. I just hit a bunch of buttons. I don't have my contacts in either, so I couldn't see anything anyways, so it doesn't matter. So yeah, there's a cafeteria, and it's for patients, it's for staff, it's for whoever. But this hospital also has, in true New England fashion, a Dunkin' Donuts inside of it, which, as far as I can tell, is pretty much always open. And I will say, the food's not bad. So anyone who could ever say, "Well, you're a chef at a hospital," if my hospital has good food, I can only imagine how good your food is.
Well, I can blow my own trumpet if you want me to about my abilities as a chef, but there is another hospital I know quite well because, unfortunately, my brother James, who appears on our podcast, What You Talk About Willis, I find out Willis Boys Talk, cheap pop. When his boy was really not well, they had to take him to a specialist hospital called Adam Brooks, which is in Cambridge.
I live about 40 minutes away from Cambridge. It's a different Cambridge, but same thing. Go ahead.
Cambridge in the UK, the home of one of the best universities in the world.
Ours is home to the Middle East, which is a really fantastic Middle Eastern restaurant, and it has a concert venue where I've seen Mega Ran and MC Lars, and it's a good time. But go ahead.
Cool. Adam Brooks Hospital, though, whilst being one of the forerunners of the in medical care, it also has a Burger King and it also has a Subway.
That sounds like a great hospital.
I remember walking in there and it had the following amenities. It had a Burger King, it had a Subway, it had a travel agent, and it had a, well, I don't know why travel agent was in there, they did good business from all accounts, and unfortunately, funeral directors, but that's going to happen in a hospital, unfortunately. You have to plan for every eventuality. But they had a Burger King. They didn't have a canteen for people to go and eat in.
Which I believe canteen would be English for cafeteria.
Same difference, yeah.
Okay, because like I think of canteen and it's it kind of like
water bottle.
Yeah, kind of. But anyways, the one thing that we usually talk about that we have not done in 7.5 minutes is pro wrestling. We actually talk about that sometimes when we're not yelling at each other, or I might as well say it for people who don't follow us on Twitter, because I'm sure we might have at least one listener who's not on Twitter with us. We have parted ways with always late John Olin. We can say that we wish him the best in his future endeavors, but, you know, I mean, we don't. So I'm not going to lie about it. No, I love John, and it was a mutual parting. You know, things just didn't work out the way we wanted it to. It is what it is, and hopefully he'll be back someday, you know, join in, say hi, because he still hasn't. He was so excited about the idea of doing shows with you and doing shows with Mags, and I'm upset he never got to do it, because honestly, talking to you guys is a lot of fun, and I really enjoy it. But pro wrestling, so this will probably reach people's ears far after everything fun has happened. But this weekend we have TakeOver and SummerSlam. This is SummerSlam weekend. This is a big weekend.
It is a big weekend. So this is coming out after SummerSlam, isn't it?
Well, it'll probably come out like during SummerSlam.
The reason,
or like it'll hopefully, I don't know what Trash Can's schedule looks like, but you know, hopefully come out later tonight or early tomorrow. He's giving me a Trash Can thumbs up. I literally can't see you because I have no contacts. You're a big fucking blur. He's waving his shit at me. Oh God. Oh no. That was a good one. Anyways, next year, I'm going to have to hike about 45 minutes that way for SummerSlam, and I am more than excited. I don't know, Trash Cans, you saw this? SummerSlam 2020, Boston, Massachusetts, TakeOver, SummerSlam, Raw, SmackDown, Beyond, hopefully Beyond will run that weekend in Boston. I'm hoping GCW comes up to Boston. I'd love to go to a GCW show, but I'm excited. Like, I saw that, and I got super pumped because I have been to, this will be 3 out of the 4 big 4, and the last will be the Rumble, and the Rumble comes around every couple of years. So I'm really excited to finally scratch that SummerSlam itch live, and especially to go to my first TakeOver. I've been to a couple NXT shows, but I've never been to a TakeOver, and they look fun.
But they are fun. They're great fun to watch. So they're not so fun to review if you're bad cop or good cop, bad cop. But
because there's nothing bad about them.
Exactly.
You can't say there's anything. Their worst match on a TakeOver is better than most of the matches on WrestleMania.
Unfortunately so. I mean, the first thing we reviewed this year on Good Cop, Bad Cop was the NXT TakeOver Blackpool. It was Zach Gibson and his tag partner against Moustache Mountain for the NXT UK tag team titles. And I have been to WrestleMania. I have been to the G1 at Madison Square Garden. I have been to, I have watched everything that WWE put out this year, and I've caught some of the crap that AEW put out. But nothing has come close to that match.
Yeah, no.
Nothing.
So I'm not a huge... Okay, I don't want to say I'm not a huge fan, because I am. I'm not a huge follower of NXT UK, just because I'm already spread thin between personal life, wrestling, work, all that. It's just adding more stuff. Like, I'm glad that we have a new wrestling promotion coming out with AEW, but I'm also super stressed out that that's more wrestling to watch. It's just because I don't have time, especially because I'm trying to expand this product and this branding that we're doing with the Blade Job into different avenues, and just the whole thought of trying to add something else into the mix is stressful. However, I will say that August 31st, I am over the moon excited the fact that it's an all-day wrestling day, because those happen so few and far between. We have NXT UK in the afternoon, for us at least, and then we have AEW's All Out at night, and I love a day when I sit down and just watch wrestling from 2 o'clock in the afternoon until 11 o'clock at night. I mean, it just doesn't happen very often. I'm really excited about that, especially because I truly believe this is AEW's go-home show for TV, and this is going to be a make and break moment, I think, for a lot of people. As you may know, Matt, I don't know. Do you know this? I fucking hate Cody Rhodes. I despise him with the passion of 1,000 fiery suns, and sometimes it's for no reason, but honestly, I just think he's a whiny baby, and I just don't think he's that great in the ring. And as gorgeous as his wife is, she's awful. She's terrible in the ring. And
well, if I can interject here, Mr.
You
Ryan,
sure can, and then I'll tell you why you're wrong. Go ahead.
No, well, actually, I'm going to say, the coolest one is Cody, but that's my personal preference there. But no, I fully agree with you. Cody Rhodes a piece of shit.
Yeah.
Because as I've ranted for the last 2 months on Good Cop, Bad Cop, all Cody has is this massive, almost sexual obsession with beating WWE. Don't run before you can walk, kid.
Yeah.
Okay, you haven't even got your TV show off the ground yet. Right now, your brand is meaningless.
No, I agree.
It is worthless.
And
until you can say that you are beating them in ratings and you're beating them in profits. You, Cody Rhodes, if you say that your goal is only WWE, then you, sir, are going to be doomed to failure.
Well, the thing is, too, is, and honestly, if Cody Rhodes came out of the gate saying, "We're coming for you, Vince," that would be one thing. But the fact of the matter is he keeps saying, "No, we're not competing. No, we're not even interested. We don't even think about them, blah, blah, blah," and then continuously bring them up. I really like the way the Bucks do it. The Bucks are kind of quirky and tactful in their pot shots, like Triple H, when Triple H makes those little pot shots to like Billy Gunn, like they're cute and funny, whereas Cody is like pure emotion and aggression, like the Bucks are kind of like, haha, WWE, and Cody's like, fuck you, and it's just like, how that hurt. But it's just it's not funny when Cody does it. I think it's funny when the Bucks do it. I think it was definitely not funny when Kenny did it. But I don't know what was going, because Kenny does not seem like the guy who would type that tweet that we all saw. He doesn't come off as that person. I'm wondering if he was just having a bad day and he just needed someone to lash out at. But like, I don't know, Cody just, and going, stepping over to Brandy for a second, I'm a big Allie fan. And I was really unhappy that Allie, who I think is a tremendous professional wrestler, had to carry the match with Brandy at Fight for the Fallen just to lose due to outside interference of another legendary professional wrestler, Awesome Kong. The only good thing that came out of that match was potentially giving us a match between Awesome Kong and Aja Kong. Both women of which I am huge fans of. I've been watching Aja Kong since, I think the first time I saw her was in WCW in like 95. And just being like, who is this woman? Because, she wasn't nearly as big in 95, but she was still an intimidating large woman. And it was so different compared to like the other Japanese women who were in WCW with the partnership with New Japan, who were very small, very petite. And then you had Medusa / Alundra Blaze, who was just a bombshell. And it was like, and then all of a sudden Aja Kong's there, and it's like, Jesus Christ, this woman's going to kill someone. And it was fantastic. So I'm really excited about that. But like, like I said, as a huge Allie fan, I don't want the women's division. So it took Stephanie 20 years to reach the point of pretty much trying to take credit for women's wrestling. Brandy has done that in 20 days. Where all of a sudden she's like, I am so much a proponent, and the women's division, it's so good, it's the best, and it's going to be amazing, but I'm going to be the front and center of it. And it's like, no, get the fuck to the back of the line. You've got Allie. You've got, Britt Baker, who I can take or leave sometimes, but I do appreciate her. The Japanese stars they've brought in are absolutely tremendous. The, Aja Kong, Awesome Kong, like, two women who are probably nearing the ends of their careers, but I think they can still go. I saw Awesome Kong wrestle at a Women's Wrestling Revolution show 2 years ago-ish, and she still looks great. I had the opportunity to chat with her after the show for a couple of minutes, and it was right after Glow had come out, and she was surprised that I knew it was her, and I'm like, well, of course I do. And I was like, I watched you in Impact, I watched you in WWE. She's like, but no one ever recognizes me. I was like, why? She goes, because she didn't have the cornrows and the dreadlock kind of hair at the time. She had short hair, and apparently that just made people not know who she was. And I was like, well, that's interesting, because of course I knew who you were, because you're fucking Awesome Kong. Like, you're awesome. I love you. And she was such a sweetheart. I do want to say, like, she was absolutely fantastic. She was super friendly. I got an autograph from her, took a picture with her. Just awesome individual. I'm super happy that she's kind of getting this second coming of her career, obviously being an actress, because I know Glow season 3 just came out yesterday, actually, which I'm really excited about. Huge fan of that show. Allison Brie, maybe not a wrestler, but honestly, let's get her in. You know, screw it. She's been in the ring. Let's just bring Allison Brie in. She can do some community jokes. Maybe we'll get Donald Glover in here. It'll be fantastic. It'll be hysterical. But it's just like, yeah, I'm really worried about AEW's women's division just because of Brandy Rhodes.
Stephanie has paid her dues over the years. Yes, she's a McMahon, was born into the business. I get that. But she has paid her dues over the years. She's worked hard behind the scenes. She's worked hard in the ring. And she's worked hard to build that heat.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean...
I'm not saying that she's responsible necessarily for it. Because, you know, the woman who got the biggest heat, in my opinion, will not be Stephanie McMahon, it will be Vicky Guerrero. But Stephanie certainly was pivotal in signing the talent responsible for the women's revolution in WWE, at least.
She also works closely with Triple H in NXT.
In more ways than one as well.
Well, yeah. Oh, yeah. How many kids they got, you know? It's, you know, and I have no real qualms with Stephanie McMahon most of the time, and I actually gained a lot of credit for her or a lot of respect for her at 34 when she took the apron bump through the table. Like, that's a rough bump to take, and she took it. She didn't half-ass it.
Didn't we, together?
What's that?
We talked about it last year when I debuted on you.
Yeah.
About bump took and how proud you were of her for doing that.
No, because I mean, as I've taken that bump before, but it was on grass, so it was a lot softer. Because I mean, that athletic padding breaks your fall, but it is not soft, I'm sure. And I still had the wind knocked out of me to a way where I didn't even want to move, you know. And I was not very well trained at the time, no. So, you know, like, I mean, I really do, because that's a rough bump to take. I mean, people think that, excuse me, like, obviously the table is there to break your fall, and that's what it does. But it's also shards of wood. You know, how many times have we seen wrestlers go through a table and all of a sudden their backs are bleeding? You know,
Hardcore Holly will bend down.
Oh, God. That was in the Don't Try This at Home video for years.
For good reason. You can't buy those tables easily. Although apparently they're $110. I'm not sure where that get that number from, but
yeah, they're super. I've looked at them. They're super expensive. Like, when you see an indie show who's using tables or doing like a TLC match, buy their merch, because they spend a shitload of money on that. Like, yeah, it's not cheap. I remember Mr. Denver, Colorado from Beyond, when they did a TLC match at American Rana last year, or was that Heavy Lies the Crown? I don't know. It was either American Rana or Heavy Lies the Crown, but they did a TLC match with EYFBO and the other members of Pazuzu, Jaka and Chris Dickinson, and he said this is by far the most expensive match we've ever put on, because there were multiple tables, multiple chairs, and chairs are cheap. You can get decent folding chairs at Target for $8. You know, I've got a couple. I have a brand new unwrapped around someone's head chair sitting behind me, and then the exact same chair from Target, and I only know that because he posted a picture of him at Target with the shopping cart full of chairs. On the other side of the room, that's covered in Joey Janela and David Starr's blood and is absolutely destroyed. So I mean, like, they're good chairs for pro wrestling and they're cheap. But yeah, tables, two-sided painter's ladders are like $200, $300 for the tall ones.
And you have ones that can actually buckle as well nowadays.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. But I want to go back to the women for a second.
Yes, of course.
Because I was thinking about something the other day. Now, obviously, pro wrestling is supposed to be fantastical, and it's, you know, it's goofy. Even in its most serious time, it's goofy. Like, it's just, that's what it is. It's a carny sideshow. It always has been. It always will be. It's just a carny sideshow that can make millions of dollars.
Yeah.
And I was thinking that why is it that most women in WWE and AEW all sound like their names are strippers? Like I was just thinking about, like, now making her way to the stage, Allie. It's just, even Brandy, Alexa Bliss. Like, how is that not a stripper name? It's just something that kind of popped into my head because, like, we've had.
Is that not part of how to introduce, though? For example.
Yeah, it's like, I don't know. Like, even going back to, like, Michelle McCool. Like, and I get it's obviously wrestling. Like, the dudes have had weird fucking names too, but like, and obviously up until recently, unfortunately, the men were typically taken more seriously than the women. I mean, we all saw WWF in the 90s and early 2000s. The women were not taken seriously, minus a couple. Chyna, even Trish Stratus. As a legend, as a Hall of Famer, how many times was she in bra and panties matches?
Tori Wilson, former Playboy cover girl. That is literally her one career achievement.
No, she also had sex with Billy Kidman.
Well, in my defense, I don't know her WCW career, but I do know that she has never held a championship. How does she qualify for the Hall of Fame? Ahead of someone like, off the top of my head, oh god, like Michelle McCool, for example.
Mm-hmm.
Multiple time women's champion. No, not in there. I don't get it. I just don't get it.
Well, Michelle McCool, I wouldn't be surprised if they'd offered it to her, and she was like, no thanks, not now, because she pulled away from the industry. Like, she doesn't make appearances. She doesn't, like, she doesn't show up at reunions. She doesn't show up at, Old School Raw 25th or whatever. Like, she doesn't do this stuff, and from what I understand is she's pretty much like, I'm a mom now. Like, I'm good. Like, I don't want to be. And maybe that's part of the fact that she was still part of it when a time when it was a little more over-sexualized for women. And she's just kind of like, nah, I'm good. Like, I don't really want to associate myself with it, which is weird considering who her husband is, someone who will never leave the industry until he dies. Like,
the pun intended, of course.
Yeah. I don't know if you saw too his quote unquote lifetime contract.
I have heard of it. It's gonna be as long as he wants to be there, basically.
Yeah, it's he pretty much signed a contract with Vince saying, like, I think it was like a 20-year extension or something, which is pretty much literally he will be with WWE until he's dead. I mean, he's technically already dead because he's been dead since like 1991, but
Still can't believe that WWE didn't think he had it. Amazing, isn't it?
Well, so you got to think WCW, as good as it was, because I was a huge WCW fan. I mean, going back to like the
you mentioned it once or twice.
I know, but like even going back to like the Georgia Championship Wrestling when the TV show was called World Championship Wrestling, like when they were still part of Jim Crockett Promotions and things like that.
Yeah,
WCW. If you think of like when WCW gained its popularity, so from Jim Crockett Promotions to Ted Turner to this, that, and the other thing, they were constantly in a state of flux. They were constantly in a state of, who's in charge, who's doing what, who's big, who's not, who's going to Vince, who's, like it was a constant back and forth with them. And the fact that they became the biggest pro wrestling promotion on the planet for a decent amount of time is actually really surprising. Not because of the talent, not because of the in-ring, not because of the storylines, but because like they were constantly, creative was always changing and ownership was always changing. There was a lot of things going on in that company for a long time. And, the fact that they were, you got to give a lot of credit to Bischoff, because Bischoff really kind of nailed it down for a long period of time and said, this is what's going to work. This is what we need to do to maintain. Unfortunately, that involved Hogan, Nash, and Hall, who I love. I love what they did for the business. They all kind of seem like shitty people, but what they did for the business cannot be denied.
Not that.
Yeah, I mean, Hogan was a cultural icon. He was the first mainstream professional wrestler. He transcended the sport and, went far beyond anything could ever be. Was he the best of all time? No. But anytime someone tells me like, oh, Hogan was a shitty wrestler, it's like, no, he was not. We just know Hogan from the end of his career, which was, the 90s through the 2000s. You go back to the 70s and the 80s when he was wrestling in New Japan and when he was wrestling in the territories. He was a good wrestler. It's just we saw him when he was old. That's just
unfortunately, Father Time takes its toll on all of us.
Yeah, and not all of us can be The Undertaker and have a terrible match and then 3 months later come back looking the best we have in years. It's not everyone has that talent, but I mean, moving past The Undertaker, Mark Calloway is just someone who's understood professional wrestling for so long that he gets it. I remember hearing stories about him essentially being the leader of WWF. Like, he wasn't, just like a locker room leader. He was the guy. I mean, if he walked up to Vince and said, hey, I think we should have a match with this person and this person, Vince would be like, yeah, sounds great. Like, he was just an influencer.
Well, there's a few things I want to talk about regarding Takers in that sense. I remember during the invasion angle, JR used to call him the conscience of the WWE on the mic, and that's legitimately what he was.
Yeah.
He was backstage and on front of the camera. He was the heart and soul. I mean, was it the wrong gimmick? Perhaps American Badass wasn't his best character. But he took the gimmick and he ran with it like he does with any gimmick he's had in his career, which has basically just been the one gimmick, let's face it. But
don't forget about Mean Mark Callis with Paul E. Dangerously as his manager.
Yeah, of course, Heyman actually managed him at one point. But there's also the fact of Taker never cared about the undefeated streak, he said. He has said he never cared about it. The fans, we cared about it. We cared about it massively. But other things as well. It's like when he was buried alive by Vince at Survivor Series. When that happened, the reason he asked Vince to do that, clearly. I'm not sure why, but maybe I'm reading into it too much, but it's like letting Vince bury him and then letting him come back as the dead man, bet properly.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm reading too much into it, do you think?
Well, no, I mean, like, once again, I think that The Undertaker is someone who understands the business so well. I think if it weren't for Dead Man Inc., if it weren't for the American Badass, we might not still have The Undertaker, because I think that was something that he needed just to keep himself fresh, because when the Dead Man came back, that was huge. And I was personally a fan of the American Badass. I actually think that when he wrestled Roman, especially because that wasn't his last match, even though they made it look like it was, I thought he should have come out as the American Badass, because I thought the American Badass versus the big dog was just good booking. It was a good storyline. It was like, you're not facing a character anymore. You're not facing the dead man. You're facing me, and I'm gonna whoop your ass. I think it would have been good, and I would really, really like to get him one more run as the dead man, or as the badass. Even if it's just a match, even if it's just like a leading up to WrestleMania or SummerSlam kind of thing, even if it's just like, or even I want the Undertaker, I want the dead man, blah blah blah, and then you just hear that dead man walking, and like I think the crowd would blow up. I think the roof would explode off the building because I feel like now the badass coming back would have the same weight as when the dead man came back.
There is a reason they keep including that character in the video games, isn't there? But also, Dead Man Inc. is the first version I actually knew of Undertaker because I started watching WWE in 2000. So I first thing I watched Armageddon, Hell in a Cell, Undertaker, American Badass. So I didn't know about the Dead Man persona. Well, I knew a bit about it, of course.
Yeah.
I went back and looked at it, but I didn't know just how good it was until '04, and it was brilliant, obviously. I had something else I was going to say. Train of thought's gone.
Well, you think about that. So, yeah, because I think, that Hell in a Cell match was brilliant. Brilliant. I mean, when they announced that, and I'm like, well, hold on, there's way too many people in this Hell in a Cell match. And I was vehemently against it. And then I watched the match, and as much as I wasn't a huge fan of the Rikishi spot, because it was, obviously they were trying to play off of Foley's bump, which no one can ever do ever again. It was fine, but the whole match in general was like Kurt Angle hiding from people, and so like it was just, it was a wonderful match. It's probably in my top 5 Hell in a Cell matches. But
unless I'm wrong on this one, that was Rock's only ever Hell in a Cell.
I believe you're right.
I know.
Excuse me.
It's Austin's only official Hell in a Cell match.
Yeah,
but I do know that his first blood match against Kane, the Cell came down.
Yeah,
but it wasn't a Hell in a Cell match.
Yeah. That was because that was on Raw.
Yeah.
It was the only time.
No. That was Kane versus Mankind on Raw. No, the first blood match at King of the Ring 1998.
Oh, right. Yeah, I know. Never mind.
Yeah, where Kane won the title for one night because of the first blood.
Yeah. I remember that. That was a good match too.
Wait.
I mean, I have a soft spot in my heart for the first Hell in a Cell with Shawn Michaels and The Undertaker. It was just, I mean, because we'd never seen anything like that before.
I'm a lover of first times, no pun intended. But I've got quite a lot of love for the first Elimination Chamber match.
Oh yeah.
Mainly because of because it was at Survivor Series, an iconic arena like Madison Square Garden in itself, but also the soundtrack to the main event, Always by Saliva. That song is on my iPhone. I love it to pieces, and it just goes with it so well. And the match itself, with the exception of when RVD blew his knee out, that's unfortunate. Almost killed Triple H in the process. But it was for the most part a great match.
Yeah,
it showed that HBK could still go, and would we have actually believed after then HBK would still have been around come WrestleMania 26, 7 years later?
Yeah, no, it's absolutely crazy. I mean, people. That goes back to something I've talked about a lot of times. I've talked to you about it a bunch of times. Is that like when we have these nostalgia matches, like people take them so seriously, and it's just like, do you realize that we get the honor to see Shawn Michaels perform? We get the honor to see The Undertaker perform. Like, love him or hate him, but if you book Goldberg properly, the way he was in WCW, where it's wrestle, spear, jackhammer, it's entertaining. He was never the best professional wrestler, ever. But he was great to see because he would come out and he would just explode into people. The guy could fucking springboard, like backflip, and he's what, 6'6", built like a truck. Like the guy's athletic.
I actually went back and watched some of Goldberg's match in WWE recently. Just off my own back, because I felt like watching it. And I remember watching, I think it may have been the one at Survivor Series in '03, where he had his kayfabe broken ankle. Um, JR actually mentioned Goldberg being known for his short, hard hitting matches in WCW, and he needs that tonight. I'm like, yeah, because when he had the long matches in WWE, it didn't work for him. As
No.
proven with the match with Lesnar at WrestleMania, where they got booed out the building. The one they had years later, WrestleMania 33, so much better.
Oh no, for sure, for sure. Goldberg, and once again, he's a guy who, as short as his career really was, it once again like he was the cornerstone of WCW without being anywhere near the best performer in WCW. And that says a lot about his character and his personality. The fact that he was able to carry a company while being pretty shit in the ring. And I think that says a lot about him as a person. You know, I've never heard people say that Goldberg's an asshole. You know, he
Objection.
objection. Mm.
Objection. Sam Whaley, I know you're listening, mate. Sam Whaley, who is part of Mediocre Men podcast, formerly of the Is It Over Yet podcast, he despises Goldberg because of the way he crippled Bret Hart.
That
He called him Greenberg.
was an unfortunate accident.
Unfortunately, some people won't let it go.
It is unfortunate because I have watched that spot 100 times over. Because Goldberg, okay, so I'm never going to claim to be a fully trained professional wrestler, though I do have some training.
Yes.
Grain of salt, a little bit of training, it is what it is. When you take a big boot or a super kick, so when you take a big boot, you run into their shoe. You control the pace of that. When you take a super kick, especially a moving super kick like Bret Hart was, you need to control where your body is based on where they are. Now, they both fucked up. Both of them. Goldberg was too quick, and Bret Hart didn't slow down. So it was a recipe for disaster, and it's unfortunate that it happened, though I stand by that did not end Bret Hart's career because he wrestled Vince McMahon. It was a shitty match, but he did wrestle Vince McMahon.
He also wrestled The Miz and won the US Championship.
I hate The Miz.
Why do you hate Miz so much? Why?
I just think he's boring. I think that his in-ring style is like people like shit on Cena for the 5 moves of doom for not like changing his arsenal after years and years and years. The Miz is doing the same thing. You know, he hasn't changed up his moveset in years. He hasn't really done much. He's constantly poorly booked. I mean, I guess we can, I can use the same argument as your buddy not liking Goldberg because of the Bret Hart thing. We had to have Zack Ryder lose the IC title just to get Maurice back on TV. Like, really? Yeah, I just quoted The Miz. Really?
The booking wise, I get we'd be upset about the booking sort of thing, but you can't blame Mike Mizanin for that.
But I can blame him for being boring. I don't know.
Well, you say that. You say I'm playing devil's advocate here, literally this time. Not a game show for a start. When it comes down to it, you've just used that he's boring because he hasn't changed his moveset up in a while.
No, that's just a reason.
I'm taking the reason you're giving me, okay? Nor is Undertaker.
No, he hasn't.
He hasn't changed his moveset since 2000.
No, he hasn't. But once again, that's
Is
just
he boring?
that's a part of it.
Okay, continue.
Like the
I can
okay,
argue. I can argue an empty room. So carry on.
the A-list character has seen 4 to 6 different variations of the exact same character. All they do is insert new Miz movie here, insert Miz and Mrs. here, and then whether he's heel, whether he's face, whether he's feuding with Kevin Owens, whether he's feuding with Shane McMahon, whether he's feuding, it's always the same feud of, the Miz is like, I am must see, I'm the best. There's never anything different. Like, I'll use Kevin Owens as example. Kevin Owens has, comparatively speaking to the Miz, has been with the company for an hour. He's only been there a couple of years, and he's already evolved his character multiple times based on who he's feuding with, based on what he's doing at that time. And it's just like the Miz just always is the same caricature of himself. And I understand. So I've seen the Miz in the real world, and I don't see a difference between the Miz I saw outside of the Centrum to the Miz I see on TV. And it's not even like a kayfabe thing. It's just the character of, I'm a major movie star, but I've never been in a major movie, is just, I don't know. It's old, and and he's been doing it for 6-7 years. Okay, I will say, I will give him credit. The last time I liked The Miz was when he was teaming with R-Truth. And then he almost ended his career.
Yeah.
So, like, I think if The Miz has the right opponent or partner, and he actually breaks that mold for a minute, he could be. Because everyone says the Miz is legendary, and it's like, yeah, he's had some great career moments, but a lot of them were just because there was no one else around at the time, or the storylines weren't built yet. Like, I don't know. Old Miz, when he was like, I'm a reality TV star and I love professional wrestling, when he was essentially just himself, I didn't hate. But just, it's been that A-list superstar for so long. I would like to see, because I don't think that the guy sucks. I don't think that the guy has no brain in his head, and I don't think that he's not creative. I just think that he found what works, so he's just going to roll with it, because he's got to have enough clout where he could go to Vince and say, hey, let's change it up a little bit. He's been with the company for long enough where I'm sure he could get in Vince's ear and be like, hey, let's mix it up. But I just think he doesn't, because he's comfortable in wearing his fancy suits and fucking weird ass sunglasses. I don't know what's going on with those. And just like, I don't know. It's just, when his music hits, I just get bored, like, immediately. And maybe there's something more to it. Maybe I'm missing a piece of the puzzle that is the Miz, but it's just, maybe he's just not for me. I don't know. Every time I see him, I just get sad. I just feel sad inside.
Okay. So, you say he hasn't changed his personality much. A lot of people don't do that, in fairness. I mean, when was the last time Rock or Austin or Triple H changed their personality?
So, Triple H, I mean, if you use Triple H's career as a blueprint, I mean, we had, I'm just trying to think, 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5 different variations of the Triple H character. I mean, there have been a lot of, now, obviously, to compare Triple H's career to the Miz's career is apples and penguins. It's not even close.
Mm.
When
maybe Triple H is a bad example, but The Rock's a prime example, man. The Rock has done a whole eyebrow raise, talk trash, jabroni, stick something up your ass sideways. He's done the same shtick since the mid-90s,
Well, no,
and
once
hasn't
again,
changed it.
like we had the corporation rock, we had the nation rock, we had the goofy singing songs rock, we had the,
Yes,
like there
but
were
he
a lot of variations. Yeah, his and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with I'm the Miz and I'm awesome. There's nothing wrong with really, like there's nothing wrong with the catchphrases. There's nothing wrong with the mannerisms. The holier than thou character is what I have an issue with, where a lot of these legends have kind of changed that up. And look, we'll use Austin. You brought up Austin as an example. Who would have thought that the Texas Rattlesnake, winner of the King of the Ring, multi-time WWF champion, guy who broke his fucking neck and then came back like less than a year later to whoop ass, would be the guy who would just sit there and stare at people and go, "What?" Like it was a completely different character. It was a completely different, like, mannerism from this person who was always so stoic and so serious. And all of a sudden he was doing goofy shit with like Mick Foley and stuff. And it just, it transcended him. It gave him a reason to be there when his career was pretty much over.
Yeah, I'll give you that one. Okay.
It's just like when the Miz's career is over, will he have a reason to be there? Will he have a reason to show up once or twice a year? Will he have, because like I'm afraid that they're going to start treating him like they treat Christian, which is a sham, by the way. The way they treat Christian is atrocious. Every now and then he shows up to do Peep Show, and that's about it. And they still keep snuffing him for the Hall of Fame. Christian is a guy that I think has outperformed The Miz step by step in his career.
Well,
And
in fairness, Christian been going a lot longer. In fairness,
well, he has, but we're 10 years into The Miz's career, and it's just, I don't know. Like, I usually at this point, 10 years in, you can see where they're going. Like Roman, we know where Roman's going. Roman is going to consistently be billed as the next face, and eventually they're not going to have a choice. They will drop the Shield gimmick because he's like that guy from high school who still wears his leather jacket because he never grew up. Like, they'll eventually realize like they need to bring back Roman Reigns, not the big dog. Like, I still think there's hope for his career because he's only been there for 6 years, something like that. Because I mean, you look at the transition of Seth Rollins, you look at the transition of Dean Ambrose. They transitioned into something more than just the Shield, which I was a huge fan of the Shield. I actually, I'm super happy that Ambrose has moved on to new things, just because it sounds like the guy was unhappy, and I want people that I respect and look up to be happy, because you get a better performance out of them that way. But the fact that we're not going to get this random Shield reunion, and I don't mean like the stupid way they did it this time where they were like, yeah, it's a house show and we've got the Shield and blah, blah, blah. Like, I'm talking like, Rollins is, facing whoever, and, odds are against him and no one wants to be his partner. And then that, Sierra, hotel, and Echo, hits, and then the place explodes. Like, we won't get that anymore. And I was a big fan of the Shield. I thought the Shield was, one of the best factions that WWE has had probably since Evolution. It was just a faction that just worked. And that's, that's something I'm sad that we're not going to see anymore. But I digress a lot. I think that you look at some people and you can see that they have the ability to evolve, and I don't necessarily see that with the Miz. Excuse me. It's unfortunate, but it is what it is. I mean, it sounds like his career's kind of winding down anyways. It sounds like he's probably more focused on being an actor and a family man at this point, because we've been seeing him less and less and less. So, I don't know. We'll see.
In fairness, he's had quite a glittering career. I mean, no disrespect to Christian, because I'm a massive fan of his in-ring work. But Christian, yes, he's a two-time World Heavyweight Champion, but he was handed that because Edge retired, okay? And it was a pity awarding of a championship. I don't
Just
care
like Rey
whether
Mysterio.
I will fight you for it. I'm not. Yeah, Rey Mysterio, grant you, the first time he won the championship, yes, it was a pity one. But he's won the World Heavyweight Championship again since then, and the WWE Championship once as well. But let's also forget that The Miz is a WWE champion, held the championship in his own right, and held it for 4.5, well, about 5 months he held it for. 5-6 months. And he main evented WrestleMania, and he beat Cena in the main event of WrestleMania. Not many people can say they've done that.
No, definitely not. But I mean, maybe it's different because I look at Christian's career as a whole as well, like outside of WWE as well. You know, and Christian has had a prolific pro wrestling, and this is not like, I'm not the kind of guy who's like, oh, you didn't come from the indies, you don't count. You know, that's not how I look at things, because I mean, they're home. Like, look at Velveteen Dream. The guy wrestled in the indies for like less than a year. You know, he's not an indies guy, and he's one of the best performers they have right now. But like, you know, Christian is an NWA World Heavyweight Champion. He's a multi-time TNA World Champion, back when TNA was good, might I add. You know, he's had a prolific career. He's one of the most decorated tag team wrestlers of all time. And I will stand by and I will die on this hill that Christian was the most talented part of that team. Edge is amazing. Edge is great. I think Christian was always a little bit better.
Good as Christian was, he never won the big one.
He didn't. But you know what? Just like you said, the A-list character, that ain't his fault. That's Vince's fault. That's Vince's fault for not recognizing how good he was. And sometimes...
And if you ever want proof of how little faith Vince had in Christian main eventing, when Cena was drafted to Raw in 2005, the main event for Vengeance was meant to be Cena defending the WWE Championship against Christian. At the last minute, they threw Jericho in the match because they didn't believe Christian had the star power to sell the pay-per-view. And
you know, once again,
I hate to say this, I do agree. Christian didn't have the star power. Maybe that's because they didn't push him well enough. But Christian didn't have the star power at the time as a singles competitor to, you know, it's like Cena versus R-Truth at Capital Punishment, I think it was. In a steel cage match. That was the most fucking stupid idea I've ever heard in my life. Now, if you would have R-Truth go up against, say, a Kofi Kingston for the WWE Championship, right now, that'd be the hottest shit out there.
I still stand by that. R-Truth is the most underappreciated professional wrestler in that company.
R-Truth, if it had been anybody else, that 24/7 title would have been meaningless. But he has made that 24/7 title work and established it beautifully.
And you know what? Drake Maverick has stepped up too. I hated Rockstar Spud in TNA. I hated him. And then they signed him. And they were like, oh, his name's Drake Maverick now. He's GM at 205 Live. I was like, oh, God, this fucking guy. I hate this guy. And he stepped up. And I am so appreciative because that title was revealed by my favorite professional wrestler of all time. And I went, Mick, why are you even touching that thing? That's actually sullying your career just by holding that belt. Like, it's an insult to everything that you built with that hardcore division. And R-Truth and Maverick just took it and they just made it.
So with that very thought in your head, okay, I want you to repeat what you thought when Mick Foley revealed the championship. Repeat it, please.
That it was terrible and that it sullied his career.
When you think back now, look back at it now, that segment now with your thoughts. What are your thoughts?
That belt is absolutely atrocious, and they should have revealed it in a completely different way.
Maybe so, but you can't argue it's worked.
It has, but if it like you said, if it weren't for Truth and Maverick, it wouldn't. If this was just fucking, let's say, like, you know, Titus O'Neil and I don't know, the Big Show, it would not nearly be as entertaining. You know, it's R-Truth knowing how this business works, taking what he's given and making the best of it. The same way that oh god, I was just thinking about this the other day. I was likening, so I was just laying in bed thinking about wrestling like I do, and I was thinking about Jericho's career. And Jericho is the kind of guy that no matter what he's given, he turns it into gold because there's nothing he can do about it. There's nothing he can change about it. All he can do is make it the best he can. And because Jericho's had some shitty gimmicks, but he's always made them entertaining.
I want to ask you a serious question because I know we're running out of time, but I want to ask you a question here and then ask you another question afterwards. Jericho, are you the person, or is it Scott, who thinks Jericho is the best of all time?
I think from a full-on career that, yes, Jericho... I mean, and when I say greatest of all time, I mean in your kind of modern era kind of thing, from like the early 90s on. You know, like...
I ask for a valid reason. Is it better to reinvent yourself constantly to stay relevant, or to be someone who doesn't need to reinvent themselves to be relevant?
I think that's a really hard question to answer for a couple of reasons. So, let me clear my throat because this might be a second.
While you're clearing your throat, I'm going to put my case forward. The reason I ask is because Jericho does that on a regular basis. I mean, how many gimmicks he had since he broke into well, WCW for a start? He's changed his gimmick maybe 12 times, 13 times?
Well, yes and no. He's always maintained Chris Jericho. You know, the last time he was different than the Jericho we know now was ECW. He wasn't the cocky kid in ECW. He kind of like started that gimmick in WCW. And he's always been the cocky, arrogant, you know, I'm better than all of you because I'm Chris Jericho. I'm just better. So when you talk about, you know, reinventing yourself and whether it's best to stick, you know, have a gimmick that doesn't need to be reinvented or reinventing to stay relevant, it's really loaded. It's really hard to say because obviously the average performer doesn't have control over who they are in the ring because it's given to them by Eric Bischoff or Vince McMahon or Jeff Jarrett, Dixie Carter, or Triple H or whomever. You know, it's given to them by someone saying, this is who you are now. You're just going to have to deal with it. And Chris Jericho is someone, because when he went to WWF, he was still that WCW guy, you know, for a long time. And WCW people were underappreciated, underutilized in WWF for a long time. It was... Yeah, you came from them. Let's see if you can roll with the actual big boys kind of thing. And he got lucky because they wanted to kind of bury him. If you think about his debut, they didn't think that he could go head to head on the mic with The Rock, but he did. And I think that shocked them, that they were like, holy crap, like, he just went word for word with The Rock. Like, okay, what else can this guy do? You know, so like we've always had Chris Jericho, you know, the Ayatollah of rock and rolla. You know, he's always been this guy, this same caricature.
never gonna take away from the fact of how great he is. He is fantastic. And on a side note, thank you again, Jericho, for making Conrad's day, for liking and sharing his article he wrote about you. But
Also, thank you for AEW, Chris Jericho. Yeah, thank you. Because you're better than Cody, that piece of shit.
Anyway, because when Austin came back for Raw Reunion the other day, the glass shattered, the beer came out, and nothing about Austin has changed, has it? Nothing has changed about him at all.
Not at all.
Not one iota. Even when he was the Psycho for the Alliance back in 01, he was still the same Austin.
Well, one thing has changed. He drinks Keystone instead of Budweiser.
Well, he also drinks his own Broken Skull IPA now. He drinks, but that's neither here nor there. In regards to actual gimmick and to who he is, he's the same in the ring as he is out the ring. By all accounts, he is a foul-mouthed, beer-drinking, finger-gesturing SOB. Jericho has changed to remain relevant. Now, while both methods are perfectly valid, as to which one is better, we could argue that till the cows come home. But I'll go back to work in 5 minutes, so...
well, let's put it this way. Austin is a retired performer. Jericho is an active performer.
I'm not having that part. I'm not in that part. If Jericho is active, he needs to be full-time, not still playing clarinet or it is for that makeshift pop band he sings with.
Hey. Let's leave Fozzy out of this, okay? They've done nothing wrong.
Yet.
Oh, yeah, they will. I mean, they're rock stars. Well, that's the thing. Is like, but once again, he's maintained his Jericho-ness. He's changed it up here and there.
That's a word!
But he's,
That's a word!
The Festival of Friendship, his friendship with Kevin Owens, that was Chris Jericho, but he had a best friend named Kevin Owens. He
also had a motherfucking list which he wrote people's names on.
It was amazing.
Agreed, and he got that over because he is Chris Jericho. But as I'm saying, we're not making the best of all time because he can reinvent himself. That one can be argued another time. I need to switch gears before I have to go back to work. That's
of course, right. Of course.
Absolutely. SummerSlam is this weekend.
Sure is.
I list this on Good Cop, Bad Cop as my worst cop moment, actually. As of recording, this information is accurate. There are 10 matches for SummerSlam.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
How many of those are one-on-one matches?
Like 3?
Every single one.
Really?
Every single one.
Holy shit.
And of those matches, how many of them are gimmick matches?
0.
1.
Wait, there's a gimmick match? Oh, Kevin Owens quits if, yeah.
No. That's a one-on-one match. There's a stipulation if he loses, but in the actual match type, is one change. That's a submission match. That's it. Every match is a one-on-one singles match.
No, the Shane McMahon Kevin Owens match is officially an I Quit match. It's literally an I Quit match with the stipulation that if he quits, he quits.
No, it doesn't say that. Officially on the thing, it says if Kevin Owens loses. It doesn't say anything about him saying I quit.
Oh, because that's why it was the graphic I saw was that it's going to be an I Quit match. Like literally, and you hold the mic in their face, you lose when you quit.
If that's the case, then I apologise, but that's not the information I had to hand. It's ridiculous. There's no tag matches on there. This is SummerSlam. There's no tag matches. SummerSlam is the home of the multiple tag team title match. Not one tag team is on this event at all. No New Day. No. There's no Kabuki Warriors. There's no Alexa Bliss and Nikki Cross, who just won the women's tag titles.
Those titles don't exist.
No?
According to Vince McMahon, it seems.
Well, they won the women's tag team championship on Raw, and they're not on the show. Nor are the Raw Tag Team Champions. Well, they'll probably be in the corner of AJ Styles against Ricochet, but they're not in a match. New Day, yes, they'll probably be at ringside for Kofi Kingston, but it's not the same. You know, there's no tag matches in there and nothing to break it up. It's just one-on-one match after one-on-one match. It's, yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Nothing to break it up. That's how Graham put it on Good Cop Bad Cop. There's no variety to spice things up.
And maybe that'll change because obviously they like to, every now and then be like, oh, by the way, this match is blank, or change things during the show, or change things right before the show. We never know. But Matt, thank you very much. We'll let you get back to your life. Where can they follow you on Twitter?
Right. Okay. I have a lot of different things I do.
You sure do.
You can find it all through @the_Matt_Attack UK. I would also like to mention, seeing as how Mag missed this off the list on episode 75, I also produce Chris Talks Games. Yes, Mag, I'm calling you out for missing my boyfriend's podcast off your list.
Now you can reach him at Darren Kirkby, care of everything the fuck he does.
At Detch Kirkby, yes. But yeah, Chris Talks Games, find him at Chris Lewis 37. Probably next time you talk to me, Ryan, it'll be after my birthday now. We're just betting with Chris, so that'll be fun.
When's your birthday? Well, let everyone know.
August 20th.
August 20th. My friend, I will definitely talk to you before then. It just won't be on the show. Thank you very much. As always, you are a pleasure. And I love you, brother, and I hope you have fun at the rest of your working thing.
Thank you very much. I've been a delight, and you are very honoured to have had me on your show.
I sure am.
I am Matt Willis, and I am fucking out of here.
Good night, Matt. Good night, everyone. Enjoy SummerSlam. We'll talk to y'all soon.
Are you tired of the same old pro wrestling? Then check out the amazing action on Powerslam.tv, the biggest indie pro wrestling channel in the world. Get over 4,000 hours of the best pro wrestling events from over 110 of the biggest names in the industry from over 15 countries around the globe. Get your free trial today at Powerslam.tv.